Let's take another one of our online questions. Connie is asking, could you give us an update on the progress towards seeing real change in federal sentencing guidelines?
Sure. Thank you very much, Connie. This is an area that's been of great concern to me. As a former federal prosecutor, I've seen firsthand the impact of too many federal laws that have done too much to change our our criminal justice system. You know, what we've seen over the last 30 years, Connie, is the fact that our federal prison population has increased almost tenfold. Now, that has occurred at a time when our national population has not increased tenfold, and I'm pretty sure that the number of crimes actually being committed hasn't increased tenfold. But what has happened is that more and more criminal activity has become subject to federal law, whereas traditionally it was subject primarily, if not exclusively, to state law. And at the same time, too many federal laws governing what happens to people who commit those federal crimes have established very high minimum mandatory sentences. So high, in fact, that they outpace the sentences that are imposed under state law. So I sat down a few months ago with a friend of mine across the aisle, my friend Senator Dick Durbin from Illinois. Now, Senator Durbin and I don't agree on everything. In fact, there are a lot of things on which we don't agree. But we do both agree that as a simple principle of good government, we need to fix our distorted federal sentencing system. And so what we've decided to do is to sit down and iron out some retooling that needs to take place. And we've introduced some legislation that has bipartisan support to try to sharpen our federal minimum mandatory sentences. In some cases, giving judges a little bit more discretion when sentencing nonviolent drug offenders, for example. Giving them more discretion so that they can match the punishment to the crime. This is important because in order for America to reemerge as an opportunity society, we need to work on some of these projects. We need to work on undoing some of the harmful effects of federal laws that disproportionately and adversely affect America's poor. And this is one of these areas where the poor are suffering the most. In many communities, a lot of America's sons and fathers and brothers and uncles and nephews are locked up behind bars for decades at a time, often for crimes that, if prosecuted in a state court system, wouldn't face nearly the same kind of sentence, often for crimes that don't necessarily present that kind of threat to society that would require them to be put behind bars for 2 or 3 decades at a time, automatically and without any action of discretion on the part of the sentencing judge. So that's why Senator Durbin and I and Democrats and Republicans from all over the country have come together behind this principle, and I hope and expect that we'll get that legislation passed this year.